Go.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1, bingo, sort of thing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you made a really flicking her here. You made a really good point with the like, how do you define an athlete? Okay, we'll jump straight into it. How do you define an athlete? You made that as like a really good point, and I'm sorry I didn't just say like, here you go, here's what it is, because I mean, personally, I think obviously you go, oh, do you make money from it? Well, that doesn't define an athlete. That defines like a professional. So a professional athlete is someone that does obviously the physical realm for money. All right, so that's that sort of done. So what's the difference between you know, a random everyday Joe and a fucking athlete? And to me, it's whether you give a shit about the performance and going forward, whether you just go into the gym and just kind of, you know, paying your dues to whatever. How do you define an athlete? What is it?
I've been racking my brain about it all morning, and it's a tough one to really like define, you know, because it's the whole the point I was making when I was talking a couple of hours about it earlier on is that you could have someone that doesn't actually try that hard and maybe only turns up to the gym 2 or 3 days a week, but they perform to an exceptionally high standard when they are there. And, you know, they outclass a lot of people there, not down to the level of commitment that they've put into what they're doing, but more just, you know, you get those people that just are rather gifted and just physically are capable of more. Comparing someone like that to someone that's there day in, day out, eats, sleeps, breathes the process of training and what they're doing. But when it comes to the time to shine, to the opportunity to stand up on a podium, they always fall short, not because they choke or they're not doing their best, they just don't have that ability. So it's which one of them can you like truly like call it an athlete? You know, someone that's willing to like throw themselves under the bus every day and just really like break themselves down in order to achieve, or someone that turns up and does achieve without actually being like willing to make the sacrifices and do the work to get there.
See, if you asked me, like, I would say the second one is an athlete, someone that throws themselves under the bus day in, day out, although they come up short, right? Because, for example, if you play for a professional football team, but you lose every game in a season, do you still play for a professional football team? Well, yeah, you just lost every fucking game. You just, you know, think of a better term, you're just shit, right?
Yeah.
But if someone just turns up, you know, 2-3 times a week and yeah, he's gifted, most of the time, you know, if we relate it back to a functional fitness team, most of the time the kiddies like they have come from some sort of sport, so they have been that athlete in the past. So it looks on the outside, you look at it and you just think, oh, they are, you know, this being that kind of like touches something and it turns to gold and it's already just this fucking esoteric fucking thing. Nah, most of the time, like they've spent like a decade in swimming, for example. Like swimmers come into CrossFit, functional fitness, whatever you want to call it. They come into that and dominate. Why? Because their lungs are incredible. Like they've already got like a wide base. You teach them some stuff, their shoulders are already strong as shit, so they can flip around on the bar, no problem. Like they're fine. And it's most of the time it's the stuff they put in months and years beforehand that you don't end up seeing, right?
Totally. Yeah, I get that totally. It's yeah, I guess it's just a very broad spectrum, you know, and it's the whole measuring success as well. On, do you have to be successful before you can classify yourself as being an athlete, or you know, can you go the entire time of just turning up and just performing and doing the work and confidently say to others that like, yeah, you're an athlete, and be able to stand with those people that are like the podium placers and ones that have a chance to be like professionals. Yeah.
But there you go. You hit the nail on the head. Like, do you have to be a professional to be an athlete, or is there a difference between a professional athlete and an athlete? Like, there must be, right? Because one of them's making money from it and one of them isn't.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So then, what's the similarities? They both turn up. We'll say for argument's sake every day. Obviously, it's not going to be every day, but for argument's sake, we'll say every day. So they both turn up every day in the aim to improve their outcome, their performance, right? But just one of them is a lot better, so they're pushing that, status of going pro, and the other one is falling short a little bit. It's like if we both went for, I don't know, the GB team for fucking discus or whatever, and we're both putting in the same amount of bloody time and effort, but you make the team and I don't. That wouldn't say I'm not an athlete. It just means I just fell short and didn't make the pick, sort of thing.
Yeah, totally. And not everyone has the intention to become a professional. Some people are out there every day competing in their chosen field, and it's a hobby at the end of the day. They don't actually want to. They have no idea of going to the Olympics. They don't want to get to a point where they're being paid to do it, and taking away that kind of stress release that they've got of it just being something that they can turn up and do and know that they do well. It's often like a very good like escape for a lot of people. So
completely different kettle of fish, then, isn't it? When they go professional, it's
totally. That's it's your everything at that point. If you don't turn up and you don't do well, then you're not paying the bills. Whereas beforehand, it's something that you can go and you can switch off and you can stop worrying about the regular 9 to 5 grind and just do what you do.
Yeah. It also becomes like a meditative state, right? That's your time for you, rather than like, oh, I have to do it. You've heard the whole thing of like switch the mindset of I have to I get to, right? I get to go to work. I get to wake up early. I get to go for a marathon. I get to do this, whatever. But if you are a pro, it's another notch on that sort of side of saying, hey, yeah, you get to do this, but if you don't, we're also not paying you.
Yeah, totally. It's just a whole extra element of pressure.
Yeah. And then if you get injured, it is a big deal, rather than, oh, I miss a week of training. It doesn't really fucking matter. Like, so be it. But if they miss a week of training, it can be a bit of a problem.
Definitely. It takes the fun out of it for a lot of people as well. It just, it stops being a hobby, an activity, something that they can do with friends, something that they can do by themselves. And it turns something that they used to love doing into something that they don't have a choice in anymore. They have to turn up and they have to like do that grind every kind of day. But I guess they come at it with like a different intensity at that point. It's no longer the like desire to be better and to improve and be the best version of yourself. It's turn up and pay the bills, get the sponsorships, get the promotions, and progress in that sense. So you can totally see why a lot of people would choose to never progress into being a professional athlete and just keep it as something for them themselves.
Yeah, it's the whole like internal versus intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, right? And some people are blessed with the whole thing of like purely, you hooking up to a lie detector and it'll say they're telling the truth, of they do it for themselves. They just end up paying the bills for it too. And then obviously that's awesome. But there's also times where it's like, you've got to understand that sport is a business, like, physical exercise is a business. Like, we pay pay-per-view fights, right? Like, a fight game is a great example. Like, it's a fucking business, for Christ's sake. Like, if you didn't talk smash, then you're not going to get the hype, and you're not going to get the pay-per-view, then you're not going to get the pennies, and then you're probably going to have a very short career, and you're probably going to need to be a postman at the end of the gig. But that whole intrinsic motivation is is fascinating, and I'm kind of going to meander over to a conversation we've had like multiple times, and I love having this conversation, and you've got a really cool story that I want to hear again, right? Is these adventures, these weird and wonderful like acts of physicality, all right? So for example, you know, fucking running half a marathon the other day like an absolute numpty. Why? Because it was, you know, you do that for breakfast. 21 Ks, 22, what was it?
Yeah, 22.
22, just for breakfast, you know? Like, why not? And
Yeah,
what sort of stuff do you get mentally back from that? I don't mean physical or whatever you want to go for in that.
I think for me, like personally, and I think for a lot of people as well, especially with something like running, it's very basic and primal, and you get in touch with a part of yourself and a part of like what makes us people
Mm,
when you just get into the mindset behind it and just get out there and do it, and you can very easily switch off while you're doing it. You can take music with you can not take music with you, either way. Like you can just be out there and just kind of like tune yourself out to the rest of the world, regardless of whether you're road running or doing trail running, anything like that. It's a very base, like kind of primal experience, and it's very rewarding at the end. You're by yourself for the majority of it. You know, you can choose to run with other people. I typically don't. I just like kind of pushing myself, and I don't want to have to alter things going with other people. You know, that's just myself type thing. It's just something for me to do. And yeah, it's just a way to get in touch with that more basic aspect of ourselves. For as much as we've developed as people, as a species, and the world is what it is, at the end of the day, we're still a very hunter-gatherer, tribal. That's what we are, and it's a rarity that you'll be able to find moments in the everyday where you can kind of take yourself back to that.
mm.
So just being able to switch off and go out for a run, it's yeah, just something like really beautifully basic about it. You can challenge yourself as much as you want to every day and just kind of escape from like the rest of life and push yourself as hard as you want to,
Mm.
build yourself up as much as you want to, go as far as you want. And yeah, it's it's just a very like simple, humble form of exercise that once you're out there, once you're doing it, once everything kind of wakes up, it feels very right.
And it's like, it's not, it's funny, right? With this like steadier, longer, slower type of moving around, right? It's nothing is so uncomfortable that it's going to break you down or stop you, right? It's basically
Yeah,
the thing that's going to stop you is the voice in your head.
totally.
You're not gonna physically break down if you're just going out for a jog where you can talk, right? So I think those are like really interesting things because it forces you to deal with a different type of like pain. You're just uncomfortable. You're not pain. You're not feeling pain. You're just
Yeah,
uncomfortable and maybe bored or whatever. And then you start thinking about some weird shit. And like I do it when I climb mountains and stuff. And like also facing a fear of heights and shit like that. But it's like at the same time, yeah, your heart's going. It's not that bad. Like you don't have to stop. You are fit enough to fucking jog or climb a mountain or hike or whatever. But like at the same time, everything in you is like, dude, just go home, man. You don't need to.
oh yeah, 100%. There's nothing forcing you to be there,
Mm,
especially when you put it in contrast to something like going to like a CrossFit class. You're there and you have the rest of the class and you have the coach, and once you're in there, once the clock starts, you can't really leave because then you have to confront the rest of the class and the coach, and there's going to be resistance to you backing out. Whereas if you're out for a run, that's it's just you, you know. At any point, you can be like, "Nah, I've had enough," and stop. And there's going to be no one there that gives a shit, that's going to try and prevent that or judge you for doing it apart from yourself. So it's a very base like battle with your own mind. At that point, you're the only person dictating how far you're going to go. And you'll get like good days and bad days. You know, there'll be days where like everything doesn't feel that great and you don't go as far, and you might beat yourself up about it. And you'll get days where you might be thinking, oh yeah, I'll just go out for like a quick 6K kind of run around the park. And yeah, you'll hit that like 6K mark and be like, oh yeah, I'll go a bit further and a bit further. And yeah, could do a half marathon, a full marathon, whatever. Just, you know, you just feel like letting it all out that day, and, you know, putting your best effort in. Like last Wednesday, Tuesday, when we had that real hot, like 31-degree day. And I like cycled out to the Port House and was like running through there. I only really intended on doing like a couple of Ks, and just yeah, it was that like it's hot, not like what you kind of wanted to be out in, but it felt good. You know, the temperature like wasn't too much of like an issue once you started going, and you just, you know, once it feels right, it feels right. And especially with things like that, like being up in the house and doing the trail running type stuff, you can just, again, a very like primal base kind of thing. You're out in nature, bouncing around, all those like beautiful views. It's very easy to lose yourself and just enjoy it.
Yeah, I personally trying to stop my cat from turning this thing off. Cheeky sod wants the attention. I personally hate the training and the physical of the longer duration slogs. Like, don't enjoy it. Not my way of doing it. I'll do it because I don't like doing it. You know what I mean? But I love the mental battle, like the shit it makes you face up to. Like, you end up catching yourself, right? Because, for example, I'll, you know, if it's a workout with a long run in it, or we'll go out on a long run and we'll do these like really long slog charity events or whatever, you'll catch yourself and you just be like, nah, I'll cut this bit out and I'll save this little bit of energy or whatever. And you just like, hold the fucking phone here, mate. Like, you're trying to find an easier way of doing it. Nah, you made your bed, sleep in it. And whatever, you know, thing you start talking about in your own head, or Damon you gotta fucking shake hands with during that time, that's something that you need to get through, mate. And I love that whole like mental battle. It sounds really sadistic, but I find it fascinating, like where you end up going, because at that moment you think the world's gonna stop, or in fact you think the world has stopped, and you're just like, hey, hang on a minute, everything bad in the world has come to fruition in my head and is literally beating the shit out of me. And all I've done is gone for a 3-mile jog. Why is everything picking on me? Why do I not feel good? Blah, blah, blah. But you get through it and you come out the other side and you're just like, wow, okay. I put a lot of things to bed there.
Definitely. It's yeah, because it is just you that you're competing with. You can't stand there and grind through it and blame the coach for telling you to pick up the bar again, or blame your partner in the workout for forcing you to go through it. It's just you, and just you and your mind, your body, and, you know, you just got to grind through it. And it is like a great opportunity to let those kind of demons out that do like fuel a lot of the things that we do, and a good chance to put things to bed, as you said. It's, yeah, like that can definitely like really give you the fuel and the adrenaline to get through a lot of those kind of workouts as well. It's just a great opportunity to exercise a lot of that tension, and it's great. It's, you know, it's wickedly like therapeutic. If anyone's ever going through a tough time and they've got things that they need to vent and get off their chest, I always recommend to them to go for a run or something like that, even if they're the kind of person that hates exercise, because you'll feel better at the end of it. You know, you might hate yourself during it. You might tell yourself every every lamppost that you pass by that you'd be like, I'm going to stop at the next one and the next one. But then every one that you do get past, you feel a little sense of achievement, even if you're still hating yourself at the moment. And yeah, you just keep the fight going, grind through it. And once you get as far as you need to go, or as far as you intended to go, you'll have just this really satisfying sense of achievement.
My brother said something to me a long time ago, and he said, Alex, never end a good fight. And that sort of quote or that saying always comes back to me regardless of what I'm doing. Like, if I like don't want to study, or if I fucking get injured, like, you know, when I couldn't walk, or I'm doing some sort of weird, wonderful shit, you're in a class or whatever, it's just like, hey, never end the good fight. Like, you know, there's something positive coming out the end of it. So it doesn't matter what hell you need to trudge through right now. Like, it will pass. It will pass. Like, you just need to just keep fucking moving and walk directly into the middle of the storm and come out the arse end of it.
Definitely. And it'll make you like a much better version of yourself in the long run as well. Just learning how to push through and overcome that personal resistance. Yeah. Every time you hit that wall and you do have the conversation with yourself about giving up and stopping, every time you're able to push past that and force yourself to do a little bit more and try a little bit harder, you'll time and time again just constantly keep becoming a stronger version of yourself until it stops being difficult.
And then you end up, it goes into everything else. You know, it bleeds into other areas of your life. And it's like, you no longer take the easy route out, and you might choose a more difficult path, but you're going to get in the long run get a lot more from it. And literally by inflicting a little bit of discomfort on yourself, of, you know, doing a little bit of training, which is the difference between the longer and the shorter stuff. Like, everyone can go for a run, right, and just get by, and it's the mental stuff that ends up you battle with. Granted, there's some mental things when you battle with the really short, sharp, go for it. But at the end of the day, if the lactic acid and whatever, and your body just shuts down, it shuts down. You can't help it. Yeah, granted, it comes into the ultra stuff too. If we go back to the endurance, you got the other side of the spectrum, like super, super extreme. Then yeah, okay, fine, play devil's advocate. But in a shorter event, shorter race, it's like, hey, you don't have time to talk to yourself. I'm talking like 5 minutes. I'm talking like a 5K, maybe like a 3 mile. You don't have time to talk to yourself. You've just got time to just say, shut the fuck up and move. Deal with it. Deal with that immediate physical pain. The longer stuff, you deal with the mental pain. It's like an itch, right? That itch you can't scratch. Then it's just boxing with yourself. But that shorter stuff, that's, you end up just like, hey, this is gonna hurt. Pull the pin out the hand grenade and just hold on to it, mate.
That's it. You got to make that deal with yourself and just be at peace with it, accept it.
Yeah.
You know, it's it's happening whether you want it to or not. You know, so just hold on and make the best of it.
I think it's one of the funniest things to watch ever in the realm of fitness, mate. When you just
absolutely,
because you can empathize with it too. You're like, oh, I know how bad that hurts, mate. Like, I'm so sorry, but at the same time, like, when someone's legs doesn't work or their arms give out, right? Like, just give out, and they're just jelly. It's to watch. It's hilarious.
Absolutely. You see them like just the breakdown. You can see the struggle just like displayed on their face, you know, and turning bright red, soaked in sweat. Their hair just looks like a fucking burst ball. You know, you can everything about them. It's like that is a broken individual. But you know, if they get through it, then you know, fuck it, who cares? Like they've earned it. But yeah, it's quite the sight to see.
Hell yeah. Like, I don't know, last
Yeah.
200 meters on a 2K row, or last round in Fran, or they're doing 400-meter repeats on the track. Like, my God, mate. Like, yeah, there's been some times where I'm sure both of us have been broken individuals.
Totally. I think the best description I ever had for it was you often see those kind of scenes in movies where you'll have a boat trying to like sail through a storm, and it'll be again just absolutely battered by waves from every side, and everyone's trying to keep the boat together. The sails are like breaking down, there's water coming in over the sides, the whole thing is fucking falling to pieces, but it's got no choice but to just plow through it and hope for the best. If they stop, they're done for. And eventually, some of the time, not all of the time, they'll get through it, and yeah, the ship will be completely fucked. It's got nothing left to it, but it made it through. And that's what these people are. You can see them. They're caught in the storm at that point, and they're being absolutely torn to pieces. But if they hold the course and keep going,
It'll fuck
hopefully
you
they'll
up,
get through.
but you'll survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There'll be enough left at the other end to rebuild and keep going. So
I gave a workout to a good mate of mine who was on the last podcast, and also one of my athletes last week, and it was called Fire Breather, right? It was 3 rounds of 15 empty barbell thrusters and 15 burpees over your bar. And the goal is to get it as close to 3 minutes as you possibly can. And it's just like,
yeah,
obviously it's an empty barbell, so you can motor through it, and you look at it and just be like, nothing should stop me in my tracks. Nothing's too heavy, nothing's too skillful. It's not too many rounds, it's not too many reps. Nothing should stop me. But because you just literally just take off the stabilizers, unpin the grenade, and just be like, hey, this is gonna hurt. You know what I mean? Just put yourself in an early grave.
Those are the ones. They're the ones every time. If I turn up to a class and I see a workout that has like solely 1 or 2 movements to it, and that's it. You don't need to ask any questions at that point. You know that you're going to have a real shit time of it. Yeah. You can get there and it could be like a 40-minute workout with like 12 different stations that you've got to work through. And you'll be like, oh yeah, like that's quite a lot of stuff. And it's like, but I'm getting through it. And then you get there and you've got something that has, like a less than 10-minute cap to it. And it's just that one movement. You're like, cool. I'm just going to have to, I can douse myself in petrol for this and hope for the best.
Yeah. Set the world ablaze, mate. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
Like that whole lactate. It's also the most beautiful thing to watch too, like someone truly putting themselves in the hurt locker and getting every ounce out of the cake that they can, you know what I mean? Like it's such an awesome experience to watch. And it's so inspirational to me, right? Say for example, I'm coaching it and I see someone, I don't care about the time, right? Fran, for example, 21:59 thruster pull-ups. That could take someone 30 fucking minutes to complete. But if that intensity is there, like balls to the wall, heart exploding sort of thing, I'm just like, mate, hats off. You came in and you fought yourself. And that's the thing, right? Everyone comes in and they're like, oh my God, I gotta beat Craig, or I've got to beat, Daphne, or I've got to beat whatever, the person on the whiteboard. I was like, at the end of the day, the whiteboard doesn't mean shit. You're a small fish in a small pond, never mind a big fish in a small pond. It's all about you putting on the boxing gloves and then having yourself in front of you and just being like, hey, I'm going to beat the shit out of myself here in whatever capacity that can be. Sometimes you're going to throw a roundhouse kick and you're going to knock them out from round 1. Obviously, boxing and roundhouse kicks, that's going to be an illegal maneuver. But anyway, or sometimes it's going to take you through a 10-round fight and you're still going to get beat. And that's all right, but it's just boxing yourself, man.
That's it. 100%, 100%. Yeah, the time caps can definitely be a bit of like a trap on things. You know, if someone turns up and they are at that point where they're putting the work in and they couldn't possibly like do more than they're doing, you know, then the time doesn't mean shit. You know, if you get there and you're like, if you're moving a weight that is pushing you to like your absolute breaking point at a pace that is just, you know, just completely collapsing you as a person, like then that really doesn't matter how long it takes to get through it, because yeah, it doesn't matter if it's double the amount of time that it's recommended to take it in. Like you're pushing yourself to that, just you couldn't go any harder than that, you know. So
there's times to come to bring it down and to keep the intensity at obviously the desired stimulus and that, but then there's also, it's like, hey, like for example, I don't know, like you're meant to get 5 rounds and someone gets 2 rounds.
Yeah,
I'm just like, today wasn't your day, man.
Yeah,
it just wasn't your day, and you got the stimulus from those 2 rounds, not from the 5 today. And I was like, fucking congrats, mate. You sat in that hurt locker with everyone else and started throwing punches. Like, you still deserve a fist bump and a high five. The whiteboard doesn't mean anything. Like, pay the dues, you know what I mean?
People get very caught up in performing at their peak every day. And it's easy to forget that that's not, even for people that are at the complete like top end of the spectrum, that's not realistic or possible to turn up every day and just go full send and be like an absolute top tier athletic machine every single day. Even the greats have to taper every now and again, bring it back, let the body cool off and build themselves back up. If you turn up every single day and just, all systems go, you're going to destroy yourself eventually. You might get a month or 2 months of PR after PR and feel like an absolute monster. Eventually, the wheels are going to fall off, though, you know?
But even if
the
they're
guys
in
in
that
the engine
state,
room are going to run out of fuel for the fire.
Yeah, 100%. And even if they're in that state, right, they, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, they never end up winning competitions.
No.
And it's funny because they're like, oh, but I beat you in training all the time. I'm like, we train all the time. You're supposed to cruise. You know, we're building here. I'm not testing. Usain Bolt doesn't run 9 point whatever in every single day. He's cruising at 10 summit, 11 summit, 12 summit, 20 summit. He's cruising, mate. He's building. He's there to build. Like, we're there to build. And then I find it fascinating. You get the training athletes and you get competition athletes, right? So you get the training athletes who do incredibly well in training. So say, for example, I was a training athlete, right? We might end up going, all right, we're going to do a 1 repetition max in training, and I'd blow it out the water. Absolutely blow it out the water, perform really well in training. And then I'd go to a competition and I would just flunk it. Can't perform anything, even with a lower intensity, can't do anything, can't do shit, come last in everything. Obviously, it doesn't matter about other people and comparing, but for competition's sake, we'll just say it does. That would be a training athlete. And then you get the other athletes who are competition athletes that train, build, and when they go to the competition, you're like, how the fuck did you pull that one out? Like, I was like lapping you 2 weeks ago, yet you absolutely destroyed that workout and you ended up beating me by 90 seconds. I was like, well, yeah, because I used the adrenaline, I used the time, it's one or done. You know what I mean? And I find athletes who have played sport are more competition athletes than training athletes.
Yeah.
Because they're like, how many do-overs can you have as a rugby game? You get fucking 80 minutes.
Yeah, that's
if you lose, you lose.
That's it. You got to keep things in the tank, you know. If you are going like all out every single day when you do turn up to compete, then you're never going to be able to deliver any more than that. And you've also used up so much of that energy already that you're meant to be like reserving for these kind of competition days. you know, as you said about just holding things back. It's essential to progress. Going back to like the running, typically for like the longer runs. I mean, if I was to run like a half marathon at like a race pace, I could do like sub like 1 hour 30 for that. But my like last weekend when I went for the other day when I went and did that 22K run, it was like 2 hours that I took going around it. You know, it was like a solid like half hour slower than I'd be able to do it, because if I run at that like 130 sub 130 pace every single week, my knees are going to blow apart, my ankles are going to go to shit, and I'm never going to like progress beyond that. You got to take it like slow, steady, work on those shorter runs as being the faster ones. Use things like your CrossFit training to build up that extra aerobic capacity and the strength, and just get your body used to the distance on those longer runs. Don't push the intensity. And then, a race comes around once a month, once every couple of months, if you're wanting to do it like regularly. And on those days, then you drop the hammer and you push your body to like its breaking point. You just let it all out. It's not sustainable for like regular training, but on that day, you're going to be able to completely surpass anything that you did during the training. And that's what you need to do in order to like progress in it and achieve in it. Otherwise, you're going to burn out and not last very long, not just in that specific event, but in the sport in general. You'll just lose all your motivation at that point if you're turning up every time and completely blowing out and never progressing. You're going to give up. You're going to get sick of losing, and yeah, so
Yeah,
you got to learn to pace yourself.
in training, like definitely listen to your body, and then during competition, you just tell it to shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? It's your mind that goes in competition. The mind dictates how hard you go, which is usually let the wheels come off, drop the hammer sort of thing. And during training, it's the other way around. It's like, you feel how your body feels. Is it a go day? Is it a no day? Is it a halfway or is it a no way? And then,
Yeah,
I think internally as an athlete, that debate is fascinating because only you know if it's right or not. And I
yeah,
also think it's fascinating with coach to athlete dynamic, right? Because again, the coach will never, no matter how fucking good they will never get that intrinsic feedback that the athlete's getting. So there's many
yeah,
times where I'll talk to someone, I'll be like, "Hey, this is what I want you to do. I know exactly how it's going to feel, blah blah blah," and then they'll say something to me, and we'll have a conversation about it. Right? We'll have a little bit of a discussion, and I'm like, okay, how do you feel about this, blah blah blah, and they'll explain, how do you feel about that, blah blah blah, explain. And I was like, okay, look, I can give you my best judgment, all right, but at the end of the day, I don't feel what you feel right now. So you need to make a decision for you as an adult, as an individual, and as an athlete, and then fucking stick with it. Granted, if I see something or sense something or don't like it, I'm going to cut you short, and that's going to be my responsibility to cut you short because I'm the coach. But also, you need the ability to do the same, because I could think everything's going hunky dory and you're still moving perfectly. I hate to use that term. You're still moving brilliantly, and times are exactly the same, but your knee is absolutely destroying you. And you do get those absolute psychos that will train like, I mean, I've been it, mate. You will train through any amount of pain, anytime, all day of the week, and will just suffer just to, keep your performance high. And you realize your performance might stay high, but it stays high at a linear level. It doesn't actually
yeah,
increase. It's like a horizontal line going across the graph, and you're just like, oh, well, I'm staying as good as I was. And I was like, exactly. You are as good as you were. You're no longer getting better. So I think that dynamic is fascinating, being able to juggle between that two.
definitely, definitely. It's kind of, I don't know, from like I guess like purely just from like male's perspective as well. I can't speak to a female perspective on it at all. But that like training through, like as you were saying about the people that just will like switch off when there is some kind of injury there or some reason for them to hold back and call it quits for the day. It is very easy to get caught up in that kind of gotta, stand up, be a man type machoism and, power through, show no weakness type thing. And, the whole no pain, no gain bullshit. Like, yeah, it's very easy to get caught up in that. And I think everyone does until something does happen that humbles them and they're forced to adapt or burn out. It's and you see it like on a daily basis. People that they don't want to admit that they need to hold back and ease off, and people that aren't ready to kind of justify to themselves that it's okay to do that. They don't want to lose any of the man points of easing up, holding off, and making the call of like, nah, I can't, even though I'm like capable of this, I shouldn't do it today because of X, Y, and Z. It's just that locked in of like, I can do this, so I will like do it. And I'll force my body to do it regardless of how much it breaks down, because, that's badass, that's tough, that's what I want to be type thing. So, people need to recognize that there's a time and a place for that. Totally. I'm not saying like people shouldn't get into that real gritty mindset of just being like, I'm going to be an absolute savage today. But it's not for every day. And you're gonna like burn yourself up and burn like other people up if you approach it with that kind of mentality every day.
Yeah,
and,
it's situational
you just
too,
gotta
right?
learn when to. Yeah, totally. You just gotta learn to, be a bit more forgiving to yourself, and it's okay to like hold back every now and again.
And that touches on a really important point, as well as like vulnerability as well, and it's where the realm of physical health and mental health kind of crosses over, and the whole stigma of man up sort of bullshit that we've seen forever. Especially home for both of us, being in fucking the north and then going up into Scotland, like it's so prevalent, It's like, hey, shut the fuck up, don't show pain, don't show weakness. Yeah, granted, because of a busted knee or a blown out elbow or whatever. But it's also the thing is, don't show pain, don't show weakness, shut the fuck up about whatever might be going on upstairs. And most of the time, they're bloody related. They have some sort of tie somewhere. So it's like, hey, if we can now learn to look after ourselves a little bit in the physical, I've been like, I probably shouldn't do that. Or I should just sub it out. I work on something else at the moment because of this. Like, why don't we just do that for what's going on upstairs too?
Yeah, 100%. Like they both operate mutually hand in hand. It's necessary. Growing up, it was definitely always, you were kind of taught that you could either be someone that was physical or someone that was brainy. And that was it. You were either like a smart kid or a sporty kid, and you didn't really talk about your emotions or anything like that. It was just keep your head up and carry on type thing. But yeah, like I don't know if it's just something that's progressing worldwide, or if it's just like as we get older we get like a more like well-rounded perception of it. But they're both directly related to each other, and you should never strive to be, I'm a very physical person, so I'm gonna put all my eggs in that basket, or I'm a smart person, so I'm not gonna make any effort to become a physical person. And it's like you need to refine both of them equally. Yeah, you might be better in one camp than you are the other, but you should never not make the effort to join them both together and progress. Everyone needs to look after the mind as much as they look after your body, because as we age, as we get older, regardless of which one of those camps you've stayed in when you were younger, when one goes, the other one's going to go as well. You know, you get to your like 60s, 70s, 80s, you could have looked after your body perfectly your whole life, but if you've neglected your mind, it's going to start to turn to mush as you get old, and you're not going to be doing anything physical at that point. And same as if you've only paid attention to exercising your mind and doing nothing physical, then you're going to get old and frail and sick and injured all the time and have a just poor quality of life. They both have to be balanced together, and with that comes the mental health development as well. It's huge, you know, and it's a very big issue that's largely ignored. It's definitely getting more and more attention as the years go on, but it's something that's just been really like brushed off to the side for years, and is massively important. It affects like all aspects of everyone's lives, and yeah, it just doesn't get the attention it deserves. And it's good that people are able to use the platform now to bring attention to it, and it has really in the last, I mean, I don't know if it's just that I've noticed it more and just been more aware of it, or if it is again just something that's broad spectrum getting more attention. But over the last like 5 years, there's so many more people that are addressing mental health and do have the confidence and courage in themselves to stand up and talk about it and be like, yeah, I feel like shit. There's probably something that I should do about this. And when they see other people that seem to be acting in a way that they can relate to, it's like, hey, have you got like anything going on upstairs that you're not really letting out at the moment? Which, you know, yeah, huge. Something that more people need to take the time to do.
Yeah, man, it does make you wonder, doesn't it, whether there's always been a mental health problem, but it's been underground, or whether we're doing something seriously wrong at the moment and things are, you know, increasing the problems going on upstairs. To be honest, I don't know. I know that I don't know a lot of things, so I don't really want to pin on each other which one it is. It's probably a combination of the two, as there's, you know, in life there's very few extremes. Like if you actually dive into it, it's usually like coercion in the middle, right? And it does make you wonder, like how can we, you know, everyone's talking about it now, which is awesome, and I do think talking about it is the step forward to, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved. But where do we go next? You know what I mean? And how can, in the fitness industry, can we acknowledge the fact of, hey, like we are no longer, like I was speaking to a good mate of mine yesterday, right, as over a coffee. And I said, look, we both don't like the term. We're not therapists, because obviously that kind of pisses on a different profession, right? But we're a buffer. So we are before the GP, we are before hospitals, we are before counseling, we are before psychologists. Like we kind of do kind of a jack of all trades, master of none sort of thing. Our master is coaching, and yes, we're going to refer to other professions if needs be. And there's been many times people have come to me with a problem, and I'm like, holy shit, that's way above my pay grade, mate. Like, please go see someone about that. Like, I can talk to you as a mate, but I'm not going to take any pennies for that, because this is not my job. And I do think it starts from within. You know, being within the industry, it starts with, hey, okay, we're going to start addressing the mental well-being of our members. I don't know what that would look like yet. You know what I mean? It all starts with a conversation, like talking, and it all starts with this. Just having a little conversation, talking about it, throwing shit against the wall, seeing what sticks, and then seeing what we're going to spread around. But it's like, you know, paying a lot more attention and how we're able to do that within a physical setting, but also pay attention to the mental side that needs to get that attention.
Definitely. I think it's just a lot of it is just having it be acceptable to approach people and ask people if they're all good. We're still at that kind of crossroads where a lot of people are very cagey about it and could get pretty polarized if you question their mental health. They're not that sounds very, I don't know, hostile, I guess. Not question the mental health, just make sure that they're all good, but make sure that there's like, there isn't some like greater issue that's going on. Especially from like what you have with like a coach's perspective, you'll be used to like seeing the same people every day and seeing, watching the performance, you get to know them, you get to know like a fair bit about their life. So it's very easy to like pick up on when they're not quite themselves anymore. So it should be like acceptable to bridge those kind of issues and go beyond the physical training side of it and approach them on a like, is everything else all good, and is there anything that I can like direct you on, or as you said, refer you to someone that will better be able to help you with that,
Or just lend an ear,
just
right?
knocking down that. Yeah, that's it. Like 9 times out of 10 people just need to vent and get it out there. Like a thought isn't necessarily real until it's spoken. It just sits and rattles around in people's heads, and people can very easily get into that negative spiral of taking a very small problem and turning it into this huge ordeal that isn't even real, and it's just they just haven't like brought it out into reality yet and actually spoken about it and been offered a very real solution to it. Or 9 times out of 10, everyone knows what the solution to the problems is. They need to get it out there before they can give themselves the justification of, this is how I'm gonna approach it. If someone hits you with like a problem and from then on you give them like a role reversal type thing of, you're like, okay, like imagine I'm coming to you with this problem. What advice are you going to offer me to fix it? Majority of the time they can hit you with all of the like solid advice, probably better than you could offer on how to actually correct the issue. It's just getting it out there that people need. And yeah.
I also think it's
totally.
easy for coaches too, man, because like you can't teach someone to give a shit, right? You can't teach someone to truly care. So coaches are, people, a people person. That's a fucking lot of people. All right. So coaches are fond of people, right? Because otherwise you couldn't do the job. All right. So all it is you can see it. I always see looking in someone's eyes is basically looking into someone's soul. You know exactly what they want.
Yeah.
You can see it. And body language is a massive thing, especially when you're in a gym setting. No matter how hard you're trying to fake it, when you're fatigued, you're going to show your true emotion. It will come out. Like if I give you a workout that's absolutely horrendous and it's going to take you 12 minutes, around about the 6 or 7 minute mark, you're going to throw your toys out the pram. I'm like, he's having a shit day. He didn't want to tell me for the first 40 minutes of the class, but 6 minutes into this workout, it just forced him to deal with it. And you're like, okay, cool. If he doesn't want to talk about it and he storms out, no problem. I'm going to flick him a message tonight and just be like, hey, Craig, hope you're doing all right, mate. You just seemed a little off, that's all. Just checking in. Don't need to open up or anything like that. Don't even need to acknowledge me. Just wanted to let you know someone's got your back. Peace. See you tomorrow.
Yeah. Definitely. It can be just the smallest kind of thing that just kind of breaks people down for the day. And yeah, acknowledging that you recognize that and that you are like there for them type thing is huge for people, because you get no idea what's going on in other people's lives. They might be like turning up every day and that they have a partner, that they have family, that they have friends and all that, but you have no idea what the actual like support structure is there, or how open they are with everyone else in their life. So they might not actually, it might seem from an external viewpoint that, they've got a lot of people around them and they don't need your input, or almost feel like, you don't want to say it because it would be unwelcome or imposing yourself into someone else's life. But you should realistically always take that chance, because no one really has any idea what's going on with anyone else. So yeah, could be huge for people. Could be like the only person that's actually like taking the time to reach out and acknowledge it. So why not?
Most of the time, the people with the largest networks around them, or what is perceived as the largest networks around them, are the loneliest people. Simply because like
Definitely.
they don't have that deep connection with someone, or they're kind of like blinded by multiple options, or they have to put on a persona to help multiple people or whatever. It's usually the people that have little around them that get the support they need or close to it, you know,
Yeah.
which is funny because everyone's, don't skip on the people that look like everything is doing all right. People throw the toys at the prom saying, nah, it's fine. Mr. and Mrs. Popular over there are fine. They've got family around them here, there, and everywhere. They've brought up in a middle class background and shit. And I'm like, hey, you don't know what goes on between people's two ears. You know what I mean? Like, people can, anyone can break their leg. It doesn't
Definitely.
matter, or anyone can get the flu, right? It doesn't matter about if you're white, doesn't matter if you're black, doesn't matter if you're a man or woman, old or young, disabled, fully abled, whatever, doesn't fucking matter. Everyone can get the flu. So everyone
Yeah.
can get a little bit anxious or depressed. You know what I mean? And it's just like,
Definitely.
hey,
Definitely.
it doesn't have prejudice. An illness doesn't have fucking prejudice. It doesn't give a shit who you are. So why should we?
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. I think yeah, being able to connect with those kind of people that do look like they've got all their shit together is definitely something that's probably a problem that's like exacerbated by the whole social media dynamic that we've got going on in like everyday life now as well. You look at someone and every day they got pictures of them and their partner up, they've got the pets, their house. It's always a nice sunny day wherever they are, whatever they're doing, and very positive type thing. So oftentimes you just leave people to it, you're like, oh yeah, life looks absolutely fucking amazing to like, be in their shoes. So yeah, you just leave people to it. And 9 times out of 10, like if you like strip it back, there is something going on there. And everyone's very caught up in that like Instagram lifestyle of wanting to portray that they've got everything like locked down real well and that it's going good, and doesn't want to open up and kind of be like, I could actually use a bit of help and guidance in this area or this area type thing. Yeah.
But that's it, mate. It goes back to, breaking stigmas and being okay with yourself to just ask, and I said this yesterday again, where it was just like, hey, I hate popularity. Like, I don't want someone to paint me in a limelight to be better than anyone else, because everyone's the fucking same to me. Doesn't really matter. And like, I don't like the attention. Like, yeah, people knowing who I am, that's fine, like, hey, I Dave down the street or whatever. But if it's like the attention is on me, I fucking hate it. I don't want that spotlight. Go away. But if it
Yeah.
means I've got to deal with a little bit of anxiety, and to get that, to then help more people, like truly, hand on heart, by, instead of ordering a coffee at the local coffee shop with my head down and saying, hey, can I just get a flat white, please? Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. I'd just be like, hey mate, how are you?
Yeah.
How are you at the moment? Like, truly, how's life going? How's your mum and dad? Are you doing okay? Chat to them, or like, you know what? You look fucking good today. Could be a man, woman, whatever. It doesn't matter. You look good today. I was like, oh, why? Are you trying to hit on them? No, because they fucking look good. That's it. You see that smile on their face?
Yeah.
That's 2 seconds of joy they've had in their day. And all that takes is, hey, stop being a fucking princess. Put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. Break the stigma and go, hey, how are you?
Definitely. Definitely. It takes so many people aback when you do things like that on a daily basis as well. Like you can see it. Like there's definitely going to be the smile and the satisfaction of being complimented, but at first there's going to be the initial kind of like, fuck, did this guy just say to me?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's that's because it just doesn't happen. I mean, I've been in like the hospitality industry for the past 6-7 years, and yeah, the amount of people that, you know, they'll come up to the till and stuff, and you'll immediately ask them like, hey, how you going? And it's just an immediate like disregard of the how you going, and it's just straight into like small flat white, takeaway latte. And I'm like, cool, I'm just go fuck myself. You know, like it's you know, like every day, you know, like it's just like fuck, like just take a couple of seconds to be like, hey, I'm good, how are you? You know? And when those people do that, and like it does take you back, you know, like to be like to ask someone how they're going and actually get like a serious answer and a retort to it as well. You're like, holy shit, did that just happen?
You know what the best one is? When you're like, hi mate, you all right? And they go, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So I've just expressed the fact of I care about you and how you're doing, and you've just turned around and said, I don't give a shit about you, mate. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, okay, yeah, not too bad. Usually, like, what, you know, I'm like, hi mate, you all right? And they're like, yeah, good, or yeah, or whatever. And you know, I've got to crack on and do whatever for them. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm pretty good as well, thanks. Yeah, I've had a pretty good day. And I start talking to myself, you know what I mean? I got it from my dad though. He's a bit of a wanker with people. Like he'll do it on the street. He'll walk past someone, hiya, good morning, and they'll ignore him. And he'll be like, oh, good morning, how are you? And literally talk to himself. It's fucking hilarious, mate. It's hilarious. But I've picked it up. I start doing it, and mate, people are like blown away. They're like, is this guy okay? Like, what's going on? They don't get it. And I'm just like, mate, just take. You're not even taking a minute out of your day, mate. You know what I mean? You're taking 10 seconds out of your day to be like, you know what, fella, how are you? And if you're not doing
easy.
okay, it's all right. It's easy, yeah.
It's very easy. It's the classic like manners cost nothing. Someone pointed out to me recently, which I'd never really picked up on before, that if you have people around you that are constantly saying please and thank you, holding doors open, all of that kind of shit, you don't really notice it. You just like acknowledge them as being like a decent individual, a good person, but you don't actually like pay attention to the like, fuck, he says please a lot. Sure, he's saying thank you like all the time. But if you're confronted with someone that never says please or thank you, you'll pick up on it like very quickly, and you'll hone in on that like immediately on that like specific thing that, you know, don't always be demanding, always just taking. And yeah, it's just, you know, it costs nothing just to be polite. Yeah, and it'll get you like so much further with people than just being an arsewell.
Yeah, people don't acknowledge what you do for them, or they'll you could do 100 things right for someone and they'll forget it. But you do one thing wrong, they will remember it for the rest of their life, and in your eyes, they will be Satan. In their eyes, you will be Satan. But you know what the thing that pisses me off the most, right? And no one does it. I've been in various different countries. I've been at very different establishments. I've been in and out of people's houses. I've been obviously welcomed in. I'm not burglaring or anything like that. Like in like high end places, like proper posh areas, proper shite areas. You know what really pisses me off? No motherfucker wipes their feet anymore.
No,
I'm like,
they don't, do they?
So you know the shit on the bottom of my shoes? I'm just gonna traipse it into your fucking coffee shop, mate. I was like, hey, even if the whole act of wiping your feet rubs off zero, and I mean zero fucking dirt from your shoe, you are telling everyone else that you respect their fucking place. That's it. It's just a sign of respect.
Like,
no one does it. No one cares.
That's a weird one. I've never like I can't think of there's been no like social or or technological like change that would result in people like not doing that anymore. But yeah, you never see anyone like doing that. But it's not as if the streets have changed in the last. Yeah,
If anything, they got fucking
that's a
muckier,
weird
you
one.
know what I mean? It's actually quite funny because every
Maybe.
time I go into like a shop or whatever, you know, people are always in a hurry, right? People are going a million miles an hour. They got to get here, there, and everywhere. They'll drive like an absolute pillock, right? And I'll go in, and inevitably you got to stand still to wipe your feet, haven't you? All right. So I'll go in, I'll stand still, I'll wipe my feet a couple of times. And literally people will barge into the back of me. They're like looking down at their phone or whatever. And obviously I've stood still and they've gone straight into the back of me. And I'm like, bloody hell, like, you know, me being me, I'll make a joke out of it. I was like, oh, trying to get to my ass or something, or, you know, take a picture, it'll last longer sort of thing. And they're just like starstruck. They're like, excuse me, get out the fucking way. You know, you're the one who's being rude. I was like, excuse me, fella. I'm wiping my goddamn feet here. I'm the one who's being polite. You're a prick.
Yeah.
Oh, manners constantly.
Yeah, that is a weird one.
Yeah. You won't be able to unsee it now. And I really hope everyone who fucking listens to this episode will not be able to unsee it. And I hope more people wipe their fucking feet. I'm telling you.
Definitely. If anyone has any takeaway from this, just take a couple of seconds. Wipe your feet. You know, you don't need to take your shoes off, but just make sure that you're not dragging shit around with them.
That's perfect. That's fucking perfect. On that note, I actually need to get to class.
Yeah.
I need to work out, I guess, pay the man. Because you've already done it, you mad bastard.
I have.
I need to go pay the man.
It was a good time.
Was it good?
Yeah. I think it's something that you can push a bit harder than you think you could. I think I dropped the weight down a bit too much on it. So yeah, if I was doing it again, I'd probably increase the weight on it and go for that. Yeah. It looks like it's gonna kick you harder than I found it did. So yeah, my advice would be to load up a little bit more than you think you might need to.
Hopefully I can keep it to like 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, you know what I mean? And I get a decent amount of work rest ratio. Because if you start cutting into your rest period, then those later rounds are going to end up getting a bit dirty.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get through like the toaster bar quickly, then it's good. I consistently had 38 seconds of rest for every round. So yeah, it's not too bad.
All right. Well, I'll send you a message to say how badly I died, and that I only completed 3 rounds. So I need to do singles.
Right, I've completely lied to you. Just set you up.
Yeah,
you're gonna go in there and be like,
absolute hurt.
Load it up. Had it hard as can be. Ruined.
There's fucking times, isn't it? Mate, there's so many times I've been at the front of a class. Like, coach, how do you think I should attack this workout? And I was like, I want you to go as hard as humanly possible on the first round. I was like, but it's a 10-round workout. I was like, I don't care. And sometimes I'd do it just to fuck with them, and it'd be like, they've got to know I'm being sarcastic, right? They have to know it. But there are times where you need to just go hard and then hold on. But no, I would always tell them, I'll be like, hey, I was fucking with you. Please don't go hot out the gate. If you do, I'm going to tell you to slow down. Otherwise, I'll see you at your funeral.
Yeah, totally. I think it's getting to that stage. Like, I feel like I'm asking like a question during like every like class brief at the moment, and maybe the coaches are a little bit over it. But I'm like, there's no such thing as a stupid question, you know. It's like a genuine like curiosity of like, you know, ways to tweak things and like progress. But it seems like 9 times out of 10 now the answer is like, just go for it. You'll be fine. I'm like, cool.
I mean, it will tell, like, your body will tell you whether you've gone out too hot or not. Like, if you go and you're like, I'm struggling to breathe, like, you went out too hot.
You
Like,
know immediately after like the first round.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Like yesterday, my grip blew out after the first set of double unders. And I was just like, oh fuck, I'm in for a really bad time.
Yeah, that last like 30 seconds, you looked like you were having a real out of body experience.
I just couldn't.
You know.
I couldn't like move my hands. Like my forearms had just. My grip had gone. My grip had gone. It was a miracle I got the first rope climb. Well, it was a miracle I got anywhere up near on the second one. Yeah, it completely just it had left me, and my triceps were bloody gassed out too, and I don't really know why. But anyway, that is
probably the ropes. Yeah, probably. I mean, you stuck with the legless the whole way through, so
yeah. You got to make if you make
also
your bed, you
probably
got to
beat
sleep in
shit
it.
by the end of it. That's it.
I said,
That is
hey,
it.
like, I made the decision to go legless. Then if you don't complete the workout, who fucking cares? Like you went hard, you paid the man. Say the same thing, right? If someone came in and was like scaled the shit out of the workout and they didn't finish it today, that day wasn't their day, and I'll be like, hey, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Your life doesn't depend on it. You came in, you kicked ass, you did well. Go home. I'll see you tomorrow.
Definitely. It's all relative. I guess that's the really appealing aspect for something like CrossFit for a lot of people as well, is that you're not going to turn up every day and the same person is going to be absolutely crushing it every single day, and you're going to be getting your ass handed to you every single day. It's such a broad spectrum of fitness that everyone has a chance to shine, and everyone will get beaten down by something at some point.
So true, mate. So true. And you'll find like some things that you think will beat you down, some days won't. Some day will just be your day, no matter what's programmed, and you'll nail it. You're just like, what the hell's going on? And other days, your strength might absolutely rag you, and your technique might be a bit off or whatever. And it's fine.
That's it.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Totally.
Like, don't be satisfied, because if you get satisfied, it breeds complacency. But be proud of yourself. Hey, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's always another day.
100%. Keep turning up. Come back tomorrow.
Come up tomorrow, mate.
And you'll be sweet.
Just show up, motherfucker.
Every day is a new day,
Every day is a new day. It's going to hurt regardless, mate, so you might as well do it.
Oh, yeah. Fuck it. Have fun,
It was like, John, there's a newbie in the class. He goes, oh, God, I want to join CrossFit to get fit or to get like a lot fitter. And I was like, I just looked at him. I was like, it never gets any easier, dude. Like, you just get better.
I love seeing people on their first actual class.
Yeah.
Because fundamentals is such a fucking lie. Like you go through it and you're like, fuck, CrossFit's pretty easy. I don't know what everyone's going on about. And then you come into your first like real class and your soul is taken from you. It's an absolute baptism by fire. You get beaten down into the ground. You're surrounded by all these absolute maniacs that are coming in here like 6 times a week, and they're only turning up once a day on those 6 times because the coach won't let them train twice a day. It's just, it's a real sensory overload. There's chalk flying everywhere, plates bouncing around, people are fucking swinging from every corner of the room, and it's like, what is this? What have I signed up to? But it's amazing, people just immediately get sucked into it and they're like, this is my life now. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, it fucking is, mate, because they just look at them and they think, I've made some really poor decisions in my life that has led me to here, you know what I mean? And then the next thing you know, they're there, they're like, right, I'll see you tomorrow. You're like, I thought you were literally just pulled yourself through hell and you hated the whole experience. She was like, yeah, I did, but I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll be back.
And then the cycle continues, right? They're the crazy ones that trains fucking 6 days a week and whatever. And it's just like, God damn.
Totally.
fucking hilarious, mate. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, man. Peace.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep. Have a good day, mate.
All right, mate. You too. Thank you for doing this.
No, thanks for having me.
Peace. Appreciate it. I'll tell you
See
if
you,
I
mate.
die.
Oh, please do.
Fucker.